She's one of the most powerful women in the world, yet you've probably never heard her name. Her fortune is so massive that even billionaires look broke in comparison. But behind the luxury, behind the silk-draped halls and billion-dollar yachts, lies a world of secrecy, influence, and power struggles that the royal family doesn't want you to see. So, who is Saudi Arabia's richest queen? And what shocking secrets lie hidden in the life of the woman who silently controls a kingdom worth trillions? Stay with me, because what you're about to see will blow your mind. The queen who controls Saudi Arabia from the shadows. Beneath the golden domes and towering marble halls of the Saudi royal palaces, there exists a woman whose name is barely whispered, yet her influence shapes the kingdom itself. Bint Al-Hithan, the richest and most powerful queen in Saudi Arabia, is no ordinary royal consort. She doesn't chase the spotlight or pose for international magazines. Instead, she pulls the strings of power from behind the throne, carefully maneuvering the future of an empire worth trillions. Her marriage to King Salman was never about romance, it was a chess move, one that secured her position at the heart of Saudi Arabia's ruling dynasty. She came from the deeply respected Ajman tribe, a lineage rooted in the desert sands long before oil made the kingdom one of the wealthiest nations on earth. But this was no fairy tale. By marrying into the House of Saud, she bridged two of the most powerful forces in the country, the tribal elite and the royal monarchy. This wasn't just an alliance, it was an empire-building strategy. Yet, her power runs deeper than just her title. Unlike the world's other first ladies and queens, Bint Al-Hithan doesn't rely on public speeches or staged diplomacy. She operates in silence, behind gilded doors where the real decisions are made. Every law, every reform, every calculated political move that has shaped Saudi Arabia over the last decade has, in some way, passed through her influence. The men may sign the documents, but her wisdom and counsel guide the hand that holds the pen. And then there's her son, the man set to shape the future of Saudi Arabia and quite possibly the world. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, better known as MBS, didn't rise to power by accident. His mother molded him, whispering strategies into his ear long before he took control of the nation's oil wealth, military power, and global influence. While the world watches MBS's every move, few realize that the mother who shaped him remains hidden in plain sight, operating like a phantom queen seen by few, but felt by all. But not all power is without consequence. The closer you get to the throne, the greater the danger. In a kingdom where even the most powerful figures can disappear overnight, she walks a razor-thin line between being the most powerful woman in Saudi history and becoming a cautionary tale. The question isn't whether she controls the kingdom, it's whether she can keep control of it. Who really runs Saudi Arabia? The world sees a king and a crown prince. But those who know the truth understand that real power often lies in the hands of those who remain unseen. The secret queen of Saudi Arabia, power, wealth, and hidden agendas. Behind the towering palace gates and the shimmering chandeliers of Saudi Arabia's royal halls, a quiet revolution is unfolding. At the heart of it all is a woman the world barely knows, Bint Al-Hithan. She is not just a queen, she is a force of power, an unseen strategist shaping the destiny of a nation built on oil, tradition, and untold wealth. While Saudi Arabia's ruling men take center stage, she moves in the shadows, pulling the strings of influence behind closed doors. Unlike queens of the past, Bint Al-Hithan's rule is not defined by public appearances or ceremonial duties. She is a woman of calculated moves, whispering into the ears of kings and crown princes. And while Saudi Arabia remains one of the most restrictive countries for women, she has carefully positioned herself as an unlikely champion of progress. She has pushed for women's education, advocated for greater workforce inclusion, and nudged the deeply conservative kingdom toward modernity. But is this truly a step forward, or is it just another strategy to maintain control? Her power is undeniable, yet it exists within limits set by a society where tradition outweighs change. She has helped open doors for Saudi women, but only to the extent that those doors remain under royal supervision. Girls may now attend universities in record numbers, but true independence is still a distant dream. Women can now work in industries once forbidden to them, yet they remain bound by the ever-present watchful eye of the kingdom's laws. Is she an agent of change, or a gatekeeper ensuring that power stays exactly where it has always been within the grasp of the monarchy? The whispers around her reforms are impossible to ignore. Some say they are a smokescreen, a carefully crafted illusion of progress designed to appease the world while the old ways remain intact. Others believe she is playing the long game, slowly, methodically laying the groundwork for a new Saudi Arabia, one where women don't just exist in the background but stand at the forefront. But in a kingdom where power shifts like desert sands, one wrong move could erase everything she has built. The closer she inches toward progress, the greater the risk of backlash. The question is not whether she holds influence, but whether she can hold on to it. In a land where those who challenge the system often disappear without a trace, Bint Al Hifan walks a perilous line between being the most powerful woman in Saudi history and becoming its next forgotten figure. What's the real story? Is she a queen rewriting history, or just another piece in the monarchy's grand game of power? The answer lies behind palace doors, if you dare to look. Comment yes if you like her. Inside the oil empire, how Saudi royals became the world's first trillionaires. Imagine waking up knowing your family controls the lifeblood of the world's economy. That's the reality for Saudi Arabia's royal elite descendants of kings whose fortune isn't just massive, it's nearly limitless. This isn't billionaire wealth, this is trillionaire power. Their riches weren't built on tech empires or stock market gambles, but on something far more powerful: black gold. Oil. The Saudi monarchy sits atop the world's largest oil reserves, and with every barrel pumped from the desert, their bank accounts swell by millions. At the heart of this empire is Saudi Aramco, the most valuable company on earth, a corporation so powerful that it doesn't just dictate oil prices, it shapes the future of global energy itself. But the story doesn't stop at oil. The House of Saud has spent decades expanding its empire beyond the sands of Arabia, infiltrating industries across the globe. They own massive stakes in American real estate, from Manhattan skyscrapers to Beverly Hills mansions. Their money flows through Silicon Valley, backing the very technology that powers your smartphone. They hold ownership in European soccer clubs, private equity firms, and media conglomerates that shape the news you read and the entertainment you consume. This is more than wealth, it's influence on a level that few can comprehend. When Saudi money moves, the world shifts. Yet, for all their vast riches, the true depth of their fortune remains a mystery. The royal family's financial dealings are hidden behind a web of secrecy. Trillions are believed to be tucked away in offshore accounts, spread across Swiss banks, Caribbean tax havens, and private investments that never see the light of day. The kingdom's elite don't just own gold, they own vaults filled with it. Official figures barely scratch the surface of what they truly control, and whispers of secret funds and private wealth transfers only add to the intrigue. Who really manages these accounts? Where does the money actually go? Despite their unimaginable fortune, the Saudi monarchy operates in a world where power is never guaranteed. Fortunes have been built, but they can just as easily crumble. Kings and princes have disappeared overnight. Palace feuds have erupted over control, and in a land where loyalty is as valuable as oil itself, one wrong move can mean exile or worse. The House of Saud is not just the world's wealthiest ruling family, they are the most powerful dynasty on the planet. But with that power comes enemies, secrecy, and a constant fight to stay on top. So the question remains, is this empire of oil and wealth built to last? Or is it a ticking time bomb waiting to explode? The truth is buried deep within offshore accounts, billion-dollar deals, and the gilded palaces of Riyadh. And if history has taught us anything, it's that empires built on oil don't last forever. Inside the forbidden palaces of Saudi Arabia's royal family, what they don't want you to see. Hidden behind towering golden gates and guarded by an army of the world's most elite security forces lies a world few will ever witness: the palaces of Saudi Arabia's royal family. These are not mere homes, they are fortresses of wealth and power, designed to reflect the unimaginable riches of a monarchy built on oil and secrecy. At the center of it all stands Al Yamama Palace, a sprawling, city-sized estate where billion-dollar decisions are made over gold-plated tables and silk-draped conference rooms. This is no ordinary palace, it's a kingdom within a kingdom, an impenetrable fortress where only the most trusted figures are allowed to step inside. Beneath its lavish halls, underground tunnels run like hidden veins, allowing royals to move unseen, far from the public eye. Every chandelier, every marble pillar, every imported artifact whispers the same story: absolute, unquestioned dominance. But Al Yamama is just the beginning. The House of Saud's wealth stretches far beyond the deserts of Arabia. The royal family owns private islands, European castles, and some of the most expensive real estate in the world. In London, their multi-million-dollar mansions sit quietly in exclusive neighborhoods, up their windows glowing with the soft light of wealth, so old and so vast that it seems almost mythical. In Paris, they secretly control Chateau Louis Eiffel, a jaw-dropping palace built to replicate the grandeur of Versailles, complete with gold-leafed fountains, crystal chandeliers, and a wine cellar stocked with bottles worth more than most people's homes. But here's the real kicker: some of these properties remain completely unoccupied, existing only as symbols of power, quiet reminders that wealth, in its purest form, isn't just about luxury, it's about control. And if that wasn't extravagant enough, let's talk about the single most expensive painting ever sold, Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi. This isn't just art, it's a billionaire's trophy, a $450 million statement of power that the Saudi royals bought only to store it on a yacht, drifting somewhere in the Mediterranean. Think about that for a second. A painting so rare, so historically significant that entire museums would kill to have it, just sitting on a boat. Why? Because when you have trillions at your disposal, possessions become more than just objects, they become symbols of supremacy. But here's the real question: why the secrecy? Why the need for hidden tunnels, abandoned mansions, and priceless art locked away from the world? Because power is fragile, and in a monarchy where alliances shift overnight, visibility can be dangerous. The House of Saud has mastered the art of staying untouchable, operating from behind a curtain of unimaginable wealth. But no empire lasts forever. And in a world where the richest men are no longer kings, how long before the House of Saud's reign begins to crack? Inside the Saudi royal family's billion-dollar playground, yachts, jets, untouchable wealth. Imagine a life where the sky isn't just a place to fly, it's a personal kingdom in the clouds. For Saudi Arabia's royal elite, commercial flights don't exist. Instead, they soar through the skies in customized Boeing 747s, transformed into flying palaces, dripping in gold, crystal, and the finest Italian leather. Some of these jets cost $500 million each, outfitted with onboard spas, private cinemas, and meeting rooms where trillion-dollar oil deals are made mid-flight. But why stop there? When they land, it's not in an airport terminal like the rest of us. It's on private airstrips, where fleets of armored Rolls-Royces wait to escort them to their next destination. This isn't luxury, it's a level of excess so unimaginable that even billionaires look poor in comparison. And then there's the sea. While most billionaires might splurge on a super yacht, the Saudi royal family takes it to an entirely different level. Their crown jewel? The Prince Abdulaziz, a $500 million floating palace, stretching 482 feet long, one of the largest yachts ever built. It's not just a yacht, it's a fortress of opulence, boasting a private movie theater, multiple swimming pools, a grand ballroom, and even a fully equipped hospital. Rumors say it holds underground bunkers in case of an emergency, ensuring the royals remain untouchable no matter what happens. But here's the kicker, this isn't the only yacht they own. They have an entire fleet, each one a floating monument to a fortune so vast, even world governments struggle to comprehend it. But while the royals sip $10,000 bottles of champagne on their mega yachts and fly over the world in private jets, millions of women in Saudi Arabia still fight for basic human rights. Women may have been granted the right to drive, but freedom is still an illusion for many. The royal princesses, draped in designer couture, may live lives of unimaginable luxury, but the reality for everyday Saudi women is far different. Strict guardianship laws still control their movements. Limited job opportunities restrict their independence, and cultural expectations keep them in the shadows. The wealth of the Saudi elite isn't just about extravagance, it's about power, control, and keeping the system exactly as it is. So while the world watches in awe at the grandeur of their jets and yachts, a deeper question lingers. Is this a dynasty built to last? Or is this level of excess the beginning of its downfall? No empire stays on top forever. And when the cracks start to show, will all the gold, all the oil, and all the power in the world be enough to hold it together? Or is the House of Saud's reign quietly running out of time? The dark side of Saudi royalty. Behind the shimmering gold palaces and extravagant wealth of Saudi Arabia's ruling elite lies a world of secrets, one that few dare to speak about. Beneath the towering chandeliers and behind the heavily guarded palace gates, a hidden reality unfolds, one that reveals the price of power, tradition, and control. While the world sees a kingdom of oil billionaires, luxury yachts, and private jets, the truth is far more complex and far more unsettling. In Saudi Arabia, 47% of marriages take place between cousins, a deeply rooted tradition designed to keep wealth and power within the family. While this practice secures bloodlines and dynastic control, it comes at a devastating cost: a sharp rise in genetic disorders, birth defects, and inherited diseases. Inside the royal family, this practice is even more extreme. The pursuit of pure bloodlines means intermarriage is not just common, it's expected. But at what cost? Behind closed doors, whispers of secret medical treatments, hidden disabilities, and untold suffering paint a far darker picture of a dynasty that values control over everything else, even health. And then there are the women. The world cheered when Saudi Arabia finally allowed women to drive, but beneath the surface, true freedom remains an illusion. Women still live under the suffocating grip of the male guardianship system, where they need permission from a father, husband, or even a son to marry, travel, or make critical life decisions. In a kingdom that flaunts its modernization, the reality for women is a life of restrictions, surveillance, and invisible chains. But what about the royal women? Surely the princesses of Saudi Arabia live in unimaginable luxury, shielded from the struggles of ordinary citizens. Think again. For many royal women, privilege comes at a deadly price. Those who dare to challenge the system, step out of line, or question their roles often find themselves silenced, imprisoned, or worse, completely erased from public view. There are chilling reports of princesses who have vanished overnight, locked away in undisclosed locations for daring to speak out against oppression. Some have managed to leak desperate cries for help, only to be ignored by the world, their pleas swallowed by the silence of power. Saudi Arabia's royal family controls more than just wealth, they control the narrative. The extravagant palaces, the lavish parties, the billion-dollar art collections, all of it serves as a distraction. A glittering mirage meant to conceal the deeper truths lurking beneath the surface. But the cracks are beginning to show. The question now is not if the world will uncover the truth, it's when. And when that moment comes, will the House of Saud be able to keep its secrets hidden? Or is the golden empire they built slowly starting to crumble? The truth is coming, and no amount of money can stop it. Saudi Arabia's women, trapped in a golden cage. For centuries, Saudi Arabia has been a kingdom of power, wealth, and strict tradition, where men rule and women obey. But beneath the surface of this oil-rich empire, a quiet battle is unfolding, one that could change the fate of millions. While the world sees a nation slowly embracing modernization, the truth for Saudi women is far more complicated. Yes, they can now drive. Yes, some have entered the workforce. But beneath the glossy headlines, true freedom remains out of reach. In this kingdom, where skyscrapers pierce the sky and royals hoard unimaginable wealth, women are still fighting for the most basic human rights, and the cost of speaking out can be deadly. The legal system still dictates that a woman's life is not truly her own. Divorce is nearly impossible without a man's permission, leaving countless women trapped in abusive marriages. Custody battles are a losing game, with courts favoring men, even when they're unfit fathers. And while the world celebrates the rise of Saudi women in politics, their presence is more symbolic than powerful, their voices drowned out in a sea of male dominance. Change is happening, but at a pace so painfully slow, many wonder if it's all just for show. Education is often hailed as the great equalizer, the one thing that could finally tip the scales. And yet, even as Saudi women flood into universities in record numbers, what awaits them after graduation? Corporate doors may be open, but glass ceilings remain unshattered. Women are still expected to marry young, to prioritize family over ambition, to navigate a world that tells them, you can come this far, but no further. They are given just enough freedom to spark hope, but never enough to ignite revolution. But the biggest question looming over the future of Saudi women is this: what happens when the queen is gone? Behind the scenes, Bint Al Hithan has been a quiet but powerful force, influencing reforms from the shadows. Her role in shaping Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman (MBS) has been undeniable. But what happens when she is no longer there to whisper guidance? Will MBS continue down the path of reform, or will he tighten his grip, undoing what little progress has been made? The future of Saudi women doesn't just rest in the hands of laws or policies, it hangs in the balance of power, of who sits on the throne, and of whether the world will continue to look the other way. Because here's the truth: golden cages are still cages. And while the Saudi elite live in unimaginable luxury, millions of women remain trapped behind invisible bars, their dreams limited, their future's uncertain. The question isn't whether change is coming, it's whether the kingdom will allow it before it's too late. Unimaginable wealth, unmatched power, and yet absolute secrecy. For decades, she has controlled the future of an empire without the world even knowing her name. But with power this extreme comes danger. And the question remains, what happens when she's gone? Will her influence continue, or will the kingdom she helped shape erase her from history? Let me know what you think in the comments.